All right. Hello and welcome to Wild Wiles Sports.
Welcome. This was I'm still recovering from those finals.
What a
I
wild game.
What a wild game. That makes our podcast title so apt. It's beyond description what we just saw.
Yeah.
So let's get into it.
Yeah, we'll try to describe it. I want to start with what everyone else is talking about, which unfortunately isn't basketball. Totally, it is officiating. So we could start with the overview of officiating and then get into the call that everyone's talking about. So I don't know if you noticed this while watching live, but there was there was a big free throw disparity going on, and it was
Did the
against
Lynx did the Lynx shoot a free throw in the first half?
in
I'm
the
not
first
even
half.
sure.
No, not one in the
No,
first half.
no.
They shot
That's
8.
not typical. That's not
No,
typical. No, no, that's not bloody typical.
not bloody
Um,
typical.
right.
25 free throws for the New York Liberty, 8 free throws for the Minnesota Lynx.
And unfortunately, this is not the first time that we're having this conversation, or that the basketball world is having this conversation about the WNBA. There's a lot of nonsense on socials around the WNBA, but when people start talking about some of the officiating, I think they kind of have a point.
Yeah,
There's been numerous times where officials have been bigger stars of the game at the end and bigger contributors to the outcome. And in no game do I think that was more true than in this finals. Now, I don't want to be one of those folks that try to take away from the Liberty, because of course, they won the championship. That's how it goes. I mean, bad calls are bad calls, but well, let's get into it. Why don't you describe
okay.
it, or go ahead?
Yeah, so off of an inbounds play, there was a little bit more than 5 seconds left, but at the end of the play, there was only 5 seconds left in regulation. Minnesota was up by 2. Brianna Stewart catches the inbounds pass, and before we get to the foul call, we'll start with the fact that she took 5 steps before she put the ball on the floor.
So clearly, but
We'll
no,
start.
I didn't see a lot of people talking about that. But I mean, I guess because it's the WNBA, we give some steps, but usually those are like steps in a Euro kind of style
Like a
move.
gather step,
Yes,
not
gather steps
a
through,
hop, skip, and a jump. Like,
yeah, but not just like I'm scrambling my feet all over. That was absolutely a travel.
it was a travel.
Beyond question, in anyone's league, from the Y to the W, you can't shuffle your feet like that. That's not just a really cool basketball move. I'm flustered. I just missed 2 free throws before. I'm becoming Brianna Choker. I just made that up. Is that gonna? I don't
Anyway,
know. Anyway, that's probably, yeah. Well, anyway, she wasn't showing up and in big moments like she needed to. And go ahead, describe the rest of the play.
yeah. So once she finally dribbles, she begins her attack downhill. Alana Smith is there, in her way, and so Stewart picks up the ball to shoot a floater. In my opinion, Brianna Stewart initiated some contact.
In
Alana
your
Smith.
opinion, in your opinion, how did she
Okay, in
not
the opinion
initiate?
of someone who
Just
saw it with eyes,
okay, yeah. With
she initiated the contact, went up, and Alana Smith stayed as clean as you can get, in my opinion. As someone who saw it with eyes. They called a foul. Brianna Stewart missed the shot, and then I said, well, first of all, I called the travel live. I said that was a travel. And then after the foul, I said, challenge that. So I could be the coach, is all I'm saying. But
obviously,
Cheryl Reeve decides to challenge it. The refs review it. and somehow come to the conclusion that Alana Smith was not in a legal guarding position. I don't know.
I don't get it either. I agree with Cheryl's suggestion. I don't know if you saw in the post conference where she said that they need a third party
Yeah, like
that's
the
going to help
NFL.
them review. Like the NFL. I say that like I know. I didn't know that. But yeah, they need somebody else to watch that because again, with the eyes, when you're not so invested in trying to uphold the call that you just made in a critical moment, uh, then somebody else would add value to, and I think be able to check some of that nonsense that happens because refs are human and they've got egos too, and so
Yeah.
they want to keep that call as often as possible. I would imagine. I mean, I've been a ref like twice. Well, maybe like more with the little kids, but sometimes those parents, whew, that's rough. But I mean, roughing is hard, so let's let's give that grace. But wow, watching the replay, I just didn't understand how you could. Even Rebecca Lobo, who, let's talk about her calling that game. I was like, can you please try and hide your Liberty fandom? I mean, I get your connection and all of that, but come on, Rebecca. Anyway, back to the play. What happened next?
Yeah, so after the challenge was unsuccessful, Brianna Stewart made both free throws finally and tied the game up. And then, I think they got a look on the other end, didn't go in, game went to overtime. And something that I think needs to be said is like, yes, the Lynx would have won the game if they had called that correctly. The Lynx also had 5 more minutes to go and compete, and they lost the game. I think that's important.
That is important. I think that's how I can get past, because just the timing of that call and the way it took it to overtime, criminal. And I really think that you can make the case, and if they take it up the chain or however they do when they review this stuff, it would come back with that's the wrong call. But
absolutely, and I think, yeah, and they had
but like
more
you
chances.
said, they had more chances, and so the Lynx outplayed them, or excuse me, the Liberty outplayed them in the overtime. So yes, they are the champions. But I
have something else to say about officiating. There's 2 really important things, I think. Number one, the NBA does I don't remember what they're called. It's like 2-minute reviews. So like any time in the final 2 minutes of a game that at any point in those 2 minutes the game was within 3 points, the NBA will review those 2 minutes and they will release a report, 2-minute report. They will release a report to the public saying this call they got right, this call they got wrong. And it is a way to try to keep the standards of reffing high and be honest and open with the fans.
I love
If
it.
I love the idea, if we got it, if the WNBA had that, I think they would say this was not a foul. And if that was the standard in the WNBA, that we do this any game where in the last 2 minutes it's in 3 points, we release a report. I think the standard of reffing would go up. Another thing is that I did some research on is that there's nothing official, but there is kind of this hierarchy / feeder program of refs. So refs, the chain usually goes from NBA G League, WNBA, NBA. So a lot of NBA refs got their start in the WNBA. And they don't do this anymore because I think it was the Athletic wrote a story on it and they started saying it. But when they would move a ref up the ladder, they would say, this ref has been promoted. So these refs view the NBA as where they want to go. That's D1. That's like they're trying to be fed from the WNBA to the NBA. I don't know if all refs feel that way, but it seems like there's that kind of culture. And I feel like we need refs in the WNBA that want to be refs in the WNBA. I feel like it would you know, increase the quality of the reffing if this is where they want it to be.
Elaine, I did not know any of that, and that is frustrating. That's kind of, that's pretty gross. If you think about the different skill set, you know, if we go back to pod 1, we talked about how the WNBA is really for the purist. It is for, you know, the folks that love the fundamentals, that love to watch amazing passes and incredible 3-point shooting, and not so much of the ISO ball, although, you know, that happens now and then. We're seeing a lot more of the pick and rolls and things like that, but it is a different game. And so to hear that somehow getting to the NBA would be the pinnacle, that's interesting, especially when you think about viewership this year. Viewership for some WNBA games, particularly even in the finals or in the playoffs, surpassed that of the NBA. So what are you trying to do? Are you trying to get in front of more people? Because you're not. If that's, you know, your goal is to get to the NBA, you're where the action is right now. You're where the attention is. You are at the pinnacle of a cultural movement, and somehow you think it'd be a promotion to get to the NBA when, I mean, how many jokes do you hear about the NBA about how they don't play and they don't play till the playoffs? I guess those aren't jokes, those are just facts. But you know, why is that? Is that, I suppose it's a bigger systemic kind of question around, you know, the value of women, the value of women's sports or whatever, but that's really disappointing to hear. Gross.
Yeah.
All I gotta say about that.
And last thing I'll say about the officiating is that it is insane that Nafisa Collier takes 18 in the paint attempts and shoots no free throws. That's not good officiating. I'm sorry.
No, that's awful. That's awful.
Did you see what she posted on her Instagram, Nafisa Collier?
No.
So she posted a bunch of pictures recapping the season, and like the last 3, one of them was her in the game 5 driving to the layup, and she has hands on her face. No call.
Yeah.
And then the other one was Alana Smith not touching.
Yes, right. Yeah, I feel like I know you said last thing on the officiating, but I hope our fans were able to catch the 2 post-game press conferences. So the one after game 4 with Sandy, really, I mean, she got foul-mouthed. She is, yeah, and then she dropped the F-bomb, and so she's the bloody nicest coach, so on and so forth, but just outraged at the officials. And then, of course, we had Cheryl Reeves after the final game screaming theft. So both of those were probably valid. I mean,
I think something about Cheryl Reeves' reaction that we should take note of, and it's a bit of WNBA history, is I think it is the 2016 finals. This was before like replay was a thing, and I think the Lynx were playing Seattle, and Seattle hit a game-winning shot. I think it was Nneka Ogwumike, but I could be wrong about who took the shot. But after, you know, we saw it and we could watch it, like we could see on our own personal review that it was not up in time. It was after the shot clock. But they didn't have review. And so the shot was called good, and the Lynx lost the game. And Cheryl Reeves was livid. And I think she brought it up. She brings it up a lot, but she brought it up in this press conference. And so I think, you know, I mean, she's a little salty, and rightfully so, about how some officiating has cost her some big games.
Yes, I love that tidbit. I love that you are now our historian too.
I was not watching the movie at that time, so I'm not but
yeah, you know, and another thing I was thinking about was like, why weren't we watching the W so much? before this, and you know, in our first episode, we apologized, but let's also talk about where you were. You know, we were either in the regular season, we're going to games. In the summer, you're all over the place playing with your select teams. So, you know, we finally have a chance to kind of take a breath and watch other folks play. Maybe that's part of it. But I still do. I had no concept of what I was missing for not being a loyal fan for all those years. So,
Mhm.
which we will get to talk a little bit later in the pod about your current basketball adventures as
Mhm.
an ore digger on their club team when we do our Minds Minute later. So I'm looking forward to that.
Me too. Maybe it's finally time we actually talk some basketball and not officiating.
Sure.
Okay.
Okay.
So, you know, New York has two really big stars, Sabrina Ionescu and Brianna Stewart. They played terribly in game 5.
Yeah.
I mean,
if you would have told me that they could go like 2 for 3,000 or whatever they went for, I mean, that game, everybody keeps saying, oh, this is the game that everybody deserved, you know, that the fans deserved for game 5. No, it wasn't. I mean,
it was a bad game.
It was a bad game in terms of like excitement, I suppose. But I mean, I've never seen so many missed shots. I really hope that that wasn't somebody's first look at the WNBA, because that was the shot, you know, shots weren't falling, but generally you have somebody that shots are falling for. And it was just turnovers and wild play, and maybe some of that is like digging to the end of game 5, but come on, women, we're going to game 7 next year.
Exactly.
So you know, we can't use that as an excuse. So yeah, I thought it really wasn't the game that fans deserve. We don't deserve anything. I mean, we just get to watch and enjoy, but that wasn't a great basketball game.
No, I don't think so either.
Yeah.
But I guess with Sabrina Ionescu going 1 for 19. Listen, obviously, I am not one of the best 144 women's basketball players in the world, obviously. But I feel like if I took 19 shots, I could hit 1.
That's, you know,
I'll
it
cherry pick
speaks
a
to
layup and I'll make 1. Like,
that is an incredible amount of shots to miss. It speaks to confidence that she has, and the confidence that she has in her team. And I think it's something that we can all look to. If you were still playing, and you know, sometimes if you get frustrated, like I'm not making shots or whatever, I'd be like, look, Sabrina went 1 for 19. She keeps shooting. I mean, so it's inspiring. But if you would have told me that she's 1 for 19 and they still won, forget it. Same thing with Stewie.
Yep. Yeah, I think something important that people can take away from Stewie, you know, Stewie was 4 for 15 from the field. But she had a very big impact on the game, even though her shots weren't falling. Like, I think she had like 15 rebounds. She had like 3 or 4 blocks. So I think that's also admirable that, you know, she wasn't scoring, wasn't bringing what she usually brings, but she still found a way to impact the game.
Yes, absolutely. Let's talk about, I was, you know, I'm partial to liking to watch really great offense. But that Minnesota Lynx defense in the first half, that was a clinic on how do you play team defense. They were in passing lanes. They were in perfect position. They were flooding Ionescu. They made sure that Stewie, there was always help. It was beautiful defense. And those aren't words that come out of my mouth. I don't care about defense as much.
Yeah, a little side tidbit. So my mom was, you know, leading scorer in high school, and still is the leading scorer for Plattsmouth High School. And I was like, wow, Mom, that's like so impressive. While I was playing high school, I was like, I couldn't even imagine doing that. Like, how did you do that? And she goes, I didn't really play defense. And I say, what do you mean by that? You didn't play defense? She goes, that's when I rested.
Adjuration, but not much of one. Not much of one. Yeah, college was my rude awakening. You do have to play on both ends of the floor. Yeah, I didn't like it as well. It wasn't as fun.
I've always loved defense. Like I remember going to basketball camps and we do the slides and you slap the floor and I loved taking charges. One of my favorite parts of the game.
Yeah,
Always been a defense.
but then I was gonna be gassed, and I'd be too tired to do my thing,
Oh my goodness. That's crazy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So very good defense from the Lynx. So let me ask you, Mom. So what do you think if Sabrina and Stewie, the two stars, weren't playing well? How did New York win this game?
Phoebish. They
Beavish?
won it because of Phoebish. This rookie, let's not forget, rookie to the WNBA,
Yeah.
was a key contributor and pretty much unstoppable. She was, to me, she was the key for the Liberty to bring this home. And let's talk about what's the biggest key for the Liberty, the MVP of the game, Jonquel Jones. Do they give that for the game or is that for the series? What for the finals?
Finals MVP is for the series.
Okay, yeah. Jonquel Jones showed up. Now we had a listener who shared Tawny, our listener Tawny shared that Jonquel Jones sometimes doesn't play up to her potential.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess I can see that, and I generally always agree with Tawny. I mean, Tawny's a basketball junkie, but the intensity that Jonquel Jones played with and fouled with often, that they might have missed a few of those in several plays, but regardless, Jonquel Jones is a player to be reckoned with, and she's been here before. She was the MVP in 2019 of the WNBA Finals. So I think the strength of Phoebich, plus I think the Liberty's a little bit deeper. We ran into some trouble, so that'd be another key. So Phoebich's contributions, Jonquel Jones kind of goes without saying as the MVP of the whole deal, and deeper bench. What do you think?
Yeah, I would agree with both of those. I think, I mean, obviously, like, Stewie had the 30-point performance, whatever, but Jonquel Jones was far and away the most consistently, like, well-played games.
Yeah.
But she was much more consistent than Sabrina and Stewie. But I would also say, Sabally, I was unfamiliar with her game.
Yeah.
She didn't play in the semifinals. She did not play against the Aces. She played, I think, about 30 minutes in game 1 through 4, and then 13 points on 5 for 7 from the field. She was the leading scorer for either team in the third quarter. If you would have called me up and said, hey, in game 5, Sabali's going to be the leading scorer in the third quarter,
I would
say, who is that?
Right. That's that was a miss on my part. You're right, Elaine. Sabali, well, I mean, she needed a podium interview at the end, and that just goes to show you've got to be ready, even if you're a bench player in the W. You just never know when you're going to be called on, and when she answered that call.
She was ready.
So she was ready, and she was just having a ball too. She was.
Yeah.
I think they talked to her at maybe one of those times where they interrupt the players during the middle of the game, and like they also interrupt the coaches.
Oh my god,
they need to be over talking to their team, and the coaches need to be coaching the game, but we as fans get the privilege to hear from players, and that's nice.
Yeah, I like the end of quarter interviews. I hate the in-game coach interviews because they're always like, what? I can't hear.
Yeah, and I don't think they really want to do it. You can tell that they are reluctantly and begrudgingly doing this little interview, but what do we get out of it? I mean, we never, like you said, we never can really hear anything. And I think it's just a distraction for the coaches. Let's just let them coach.
Yeah,
But
I agree.
that's a good side. Yeah.
Another key I think to the game was that New York put in a new lineup. They put in Jonquel Jones, Brianna Stewart, Sabally, Sabrina, and Fibic all at the same time. They have never used that lineup in this season. Those 5 have never been on the court at the same time.
Yeah, what a chess move. I'm gonna save this. So the Lynx were not prepared for that. I would 100% agree with you on that. That's incredible analysis right there, Elaine. Yeah, that's a tough lineup to defend.
That's a big lineup.
That's a big lineup, and the Lynx already don't have quite the size. So yeah, bloody brilliant call.
Bloody brilliant. There. No, I think Cheryl obviously was the coach of the year. She got out coached in game 5. I really believe that. I think, because it's game 5. We've played each other 4 games in a row. There shouldn't be much to like be surprised about. You should be very familiar with each other. And then Brondello pulls something out of her Birkin bag, pulls it out of the bottom of her bag, and I don't think Cheryl was prepared for it. And this is getting a little bit away from New York and a little bit more into the end of the game, but I think Heidemann, obviously good player, shouldn't have been NBA. She shouldn't have been in. She should not have been in at the end of the game.
No, I have to agree. Sometimes when we make statements like that, like, oh wow, Williams needs to be in there the majority of the time, that Courtney Williams, the point guard of the Lynx. And then Heinemann would go do something, and it's one of those moments where we're like, well, I don't know what the hell I'm talking about.
Right. She did have a great rebound.
Yeah.
But this she also had 2 very costly turnovers.
Yeah. But I didn't understand if Cheryl sat Courtney Williams down because she had missed a couple shots. I wasn't sure why we were pulling the spark plug out of the engine right at the critical times that we would need a big Courtney Williams play, which she's shown time and time again that she will be capable of, taking the game to overtime with a 3 or whatever. She is the better player. And she's the bigger player too. I mean, just maybe by an inch, but I like her defense and her defensive presence. And I did not understand why she was sitting when she was sitting.
Yeah, I didn't understand it either. Another thing that I personally would have done is, either at the end of regulation, I didn't hate the Kayla McBride 3. It was a good look. But also in overtime, you have to give Nafisa Collier the ball and give her a chance to score. You have to let the best player on your team, the second best, I guess, player in the league, you have to give her a chance to score.
Yeah. Yeah, you do. That's a great point too. So congrats to the Liberty. I can't wait to see footage from their parade they're gonna have in New York on Thursday. And they won the game. We've been talking about officiating all year. We're Lynx fans, we let you know that. So we had to complain. But the Liberty are 2024 WNBA champions, and that is the fact.
Yep.
So props to all of them.
They obviously they had a really, really good season. And you know what? There were calls that should have went their way in like game 4 and stuff that didn't. It's part of the game. Obviously there's some stuff about officiating that we talked about that we think could be like systemic changes in the league that would make it better overall. But, Sandy Brondello complained about officiating. Cheryl Reeve complained about officiating. So it's a problem that everyone is dealing with.
Yeah. Well said. Well said.
Yeah.
All right, what's our next topic?
Well, do you want to do a overview of the whole season?
Well, sure. Yeah.
Okay. So was there anything that stands out as, I mean, obviously we weren't fans before the season, so probably a lot surprised us. But
Yeah,
anything specifically that really surprised you about this season?
that's a great question. There's so many things that surprised me, and so I can just speak. I'll speak generally.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know, when we were big Iowa fans last year. And so we followed and probably watched most, if not all, of the Iowa women's basketball season. And I was so enamored with Caitlin Clark's game.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought this is next level. And it is.
It is.
It is next level. And she is a generational player. And so I don't want any, hate mail fan clap back over, not giving Caitlin Clark enough of her what's due to her. But I guess what surprised me the most, I knew she'd have an adjustment period. So did Diana Taurasi. When she made the comment that everybody got so mad about, reality's coming. But Diana was right. Reality was coming. And so I guess what surprised me was the difficulty that Caitlin Clark had early on
Early.
in adjusting. And then what surprised me even more, yep, I don't know if you could hear, but we've got some dogs here. What surprised me even more was how she was able to work through that transition and then get in the conversation for MVP Player of the Year. At the beginning, we're watching and we're seeing, turnover after turnover, which wasn't all on Caitlin. It's also about getting used to playing with somebody who can get you the ball when you have no clue you'd even be open. That's an adjustment for everybody. But watching Caitlin Clark's evolving success from a really rough start to taking the fever with Kelsey Mitchell, I guess that's another surprise. I didn't know I loved Kelsey Mitchell as a player, honestly. So I mean, I've got I'm impressed with a lot of things about the fever, not just Caitlin Clark, but so in summary, I'd say the fact that Caitlin Clark is an amazing player, but it really amplified what an amazing league the WNBA is. That a
Absolutely.
player like Caitlin Clark would come in and struggle, and that there's a lot of and I wouldn't even belittle these other women by saying there's a lot of Caitlin Clarks, because that's not what I mean to say. What I mean to say is that Caitlin's in the right league, and she's brought lots of attention for whatever reason, lots of reasons, to the league, and so let's all ride that wave, ladies. But she is surrounded by peers. She has peers. In college, I didn't think she had peers.
Yeah, I would agree. And I know you know this, but I'm just gonna say it. I think another a reason, obviously there was an adjustment because of the physicality of the league and the step up in talent of the league. I think a big part of it was also that the transition from college to WNBA is brutal. And it was brutal for a lot of people, but you play for pretty much a year straight with like no significant breaks.
Yeah.
Which I think we saw, she got better after the Olympic break, after she had a little time off. And so I think this offseason will be really good for her. But you saw other rookies struggle, like Nika Mule. She came from college. She didn't get a whole lot of minutes, but she was still practicing every day. She was still in the same grueling season. And then because she doesn't have the same amount of endorsement deals or whatnot, she went to go play overseas immediately. And that just like, that constant go, 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 no rest, she tore her ACL. So
Yeah.
I think a big part of it, and like the NBA that doesn't happen. You don't have that now. It's your professional season. And so
Right.
I think that's one reason that Caitlin struggled in the beginning, but I think there's, two aspects of it, two things true at the same time.
Yeah, I agree. I agree 100%. So, yeah, favorite moment from the season?
Well, I really liked Caitlin's second triple double to beat the Liberty, but I'm gonna say my favorite moment was Kate Martin's first career start against the Sparks and her career high 13 points. Like we said, we're Iowa fans. Like to see Iowa players succeed, and and her story is just a lot of people's favorites. Drafted from the audience, was projected to go in the third round, went in the second, and then to getting a start, to getting to start in a game on the defending champs. That was just a crazy moment, and I loved watching that game.
Yeah, it seemed like who didn't love Kate Martin? You had the martinis, the shirt. She was an instant fan favorite from the get-go. And I think a lot of that is credit to the way that, number one, credit to her. She's a fun player to watch. And I think in any other program, we'd have been talking a lot about Kate Martin. We did talk a lot about Kate Martin as Iowa fans, but I think on the wide, big scale of all fans, I think Kate Martin on a different team would maybe be a star in college.
Absolutely.
Not that she wasn't a star. I mean, don't get me wrong,
but not like the leading scorer.
Not like the leading scorer. So, I mean, there's incredible talent there. But then just the way she was embraced by the fans, and that, like you said, the story of her showing up to the draft to support her friend, to support Caitlin, and then getting her name called. How cool. So your favorite moment is kind of like mine. And I'm not sure if this is my favorite moment because I was there, or just because it was so cool to see when we went to that Fever and Aces game in Las Vegas, and it was the first meeting between Caitlin Clark and Kate Martin, and to watch their genuine giddiness at seeing each other. I mean, they are good friends, and just such the epitome of what good teammates need to be. They celebrate each other's success. They always did, and they have each other's back, and now they were guarding each other. And that was really fun to watch, and to see that, Jan Jensen, Lisa Bluter, the whole Iowa crew, and to get, Megan Gustafson up there with them. And that was really fun for me.
That was a fun moment.
That.
Yeah.
That was a fun moment.
Yeah. I also liked meeting Rebecca Lobo. That was cool.
Yeah, I loved when you met Rebecca Lobo.
Yeah. But on the Aces, I would say that they were the team that surprised me the most this season.
Why you? Because me too. Okay,
yeah,
go ahead.
Everyone was talking about. I do think I did watch the finals last year. I was not like a fan. Wasn't following it super closely, but I watched the finals, saw them win, and everyone was talking about three-peat, and I was like, oh my gosh, the Aces are gonna three-peat. Okay, well they went 27-13, which isn't bad, but it's not three-peat.
No, it's not. But
I
felt like.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just saying, I felt like when they had the trade. Was it Tiffany
Hayes?
Tiffany Hayes, and then when Chelsea Gray came back, again, kind of new to the league. I'm going, Chelsea Gray, everybody talks about her being the point god. I'm not seeing it. Okay, well, by the end of the year, I was seeing it. Okay, yeah, that's just my own ignorance. She's incredible. She can do things with the ball that and deliver passes. We talked about Caitlin's ability to see the floor and make something magical happen. Chelsea Gray can do that same thing. But my biggest surprise is that there was a period of time when you've got Jackie Young, you've got Kelsey Plum, you've got Asia Wilson, and Chelsea Gray, and I'm sure I'm leaving out people that I sat and watched them playing towards the playoffs, and I was like, they will three-peat. Who can beat this team? Because when you have the best player in the world and then that supporting cast, my biggest surprise is that there wasn't a three-peat and that they did struggle the way they did. I'm still with you. And so for a team on the rise next year, I don't know. I don't know how the coaching shakeup's going to go with they lost an assistant to the Valkyries. Who knows what's going to happen with the expansion draft, who they'll keep. We got some free agents. But you know that Asia Wilson is not going to rest all summer.
Yeah, and especially now that they have like a chip on their shoulder.
She's gonna have a chip on her shoulder. And that team, to me, was the most loaded with talent and experience. So what happened? I don't really know. But I'm gonna keep wearing my Aces hat.
Yep.
And that environment. Jackie Young's one of my favorite players. I mean, she had a little bit of a kind of a dip, and then Cheryl gave her some rest, made her wear street clothes, and man, after that, she came right back in Jackie Young style. So there's so much parity. We can't make a prediction about. I can't make a prediction about who's on the rise, except I know that there's some folks that aren't going away. Who do you think's on the rise?
Yeah, I think, like we were saying, Aces have a chip on their shoulder. The Fever, I mean, we've talked about the Fever a little bit, but wow, like what an incredible step up from the season before. I think as long as, because like you said, everything can change with this expansion draft and free agency. Like, Kelsey Plum is a free agent. Kelsey Mitchell is a free agent. So, if Kelsey Mitchell resigns with the Fever, I mean, first of all, I don't see how the Fever aren't in the playoffs again. And second of all, I don't see how they're not a top 4 seed.
Yep, I'm with you on that. I'm with you on that 100%. And if you, well, let's keep moving. Let's keep moving.
Okay. Should we do our listener suggestions?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay.
All right. So we got a listener suggestion from listener Ingrid. I bet she'll be on the pod sometime.
For sure.
She had some suggestions for us. So we have some questions that we're going to talk about. Let's start with who do you want to play a board game with?
I'd probably want to play with Sydney Colson from the Aces. I just think, well, I'm not sure she wouldn't cheat, but I think it'd be fun. I think she is one of the funniest players in the league. And yeah, I think that'd be a really fun experience.
Oh, for sure. I chose that question first because I don't want to play a board game with any of them. How many times do, in these little stories about how competitive these gals are, do we, like Stewie playing Candyland with her dad when she's 6 years old or whatever, flips the board? Or you keep hearing about how competitive some of like Mabry from the Sun, didn't want to let a kid that had never score in a Y game. I mean, these are ruthless competitors. And we don't
did you see Caitlin Clark playing golf? And she's running around screaming on a golf course.
Yeah, I mean, so none of them. I don't even want to play like tic-tac-toe or anything because maybe I've lost my competitive edge or whatever. I don't want to do that.
There you go.
Fair enough. But let's talk about this next one. Who would you trust to go on the Amazing Race with? And so I'm going to take a shot at this one first. So, when we were talking about the All MVP League in our first episode, I had some strong feelings about one of the picks. Alyssa Thomas. I wasn't sure that that she deserved that spot. And so I will tell you that if I'm on Amazing Race, she gets that spot.
I was
She's
gonna pick
hands
her
down.
too.
Why would I pick her? Oh,
No, I was gonna pick her too.
oh, you were gonna pick her too.
I was gonna cheat and say I want DeWanna Bonner and Alyssa Thomas.
There you go. So why
We
do
are
you
gonna
want to?
get to where we need to go, and no one's
We're gonna-
getting in our way.
That is right. That is right. I mean, and I guess if I could take a couple, you put Dewana. There were some things about Kennedy Carter this year that I wasn't crazy about, but she's on my team. There, Kennedy Carter is gonna get us to where we need to go. I hope she doesn't turn on me. If she turns on me, I'm in trouble. Yeah. Yeah.
Good one.
Yeah. Well, who do you want to have coffee with?
Maybe Kate Martin.
So why do you want to have coffee with Kate Martin? Huh?
I'll just get her to like sign a bunch of stuff while we're at coffee. I'll sell it, make some money.
So you want to have coffee with her to rob her?
No,
Well, yeah, if you're
exploit her time.
just exploit. I guess that's a better word. Yeah. I want to have coffee with Diana Taurasi.
That makes sense. Generations.
Generations, she used to be the closest to me in age, I suppose, but 42 years old, still playing in the W, still playing well in the W. Do you think we're gonna get another season? I don't know.
She doesn't strike me as the type to do a Candace Parker goodbye. Like, she strikes me as like a farewell tour.
I disagree. I can see
Really?
her kind of doing an Irish exit on this whole deal, like
Maybe.
I'm out. And you'll see me on the beach and I'm gonna make.
That's true.
Go
The
ahead.
whole Phoenix Mercury marketing of is it? If this is it, makes me nervous that it is. But
Yeah.
I didn't see much from like her personally, her answers in press conferences, her play that made me think this had to be it.
Yeah. So I hope it's not, but I'd love to have coffee with her because I mean, talk about some one-liners. She's funny. I mean, I'd be rolling, and I just ask her to tell me stories about playing for Gino, and then if you've not watched that Netflix,
Oh my goodness,
I want to hear more stories about what it's like to play in Russia.
Yeah.
And so I just, number one, she's been a hero of mine for the last 24 25 years, and number two, she's funny.
Yeah. All right, who are you playing pickup with?
None of them.
That's the right answer. If you're okay with losing, who do you want to pick?
Right. Or who do I want
in your
on my
prime?
what?
In your prime.
In my still still no. I who do I play pickup with? Who do I think would be most fun to play pickup with? I think Caitlin Clark would be pretty fun to play pickup with. And of course, you got to have a big. I'd love to just be I'd love to play with the Fever. I could do a pick and roll. I mean, I'll set the pick. Oh gosh, maybe no, I won't. If I had on like full pads,
No.
That's
crazy.
Yeah.
I know I get cooked like badly, but I think it'd just be such a fun experience to play pickup with Arike Ngumawale.
Yeah, so got more about that. Why you want to play with her?
I think she's one of the most creative scorers in the league. I think, I mean, I know she would probably literally break my ankle. I'm sure I'd break my ankle, but, just playing against someone who can score the way she could score, the all-star MVP.
Yeah.
Um, it would be embarrassing, but it'd be fun.
Right. Well, and I'm gonna pass the ball, and play no defense. So I don't really know what kind of pickup game that would look like if that was my strategy. But I would love to also get a pass into Asia Wilson and watch her go to work.
Oh yeah.
She's she was the MVP of the season for a reason. She's the best player in the world right now.
Yep.
Who doesn't want to play with Asia Wilson?
Yeah. I agree. Okay, Mine's minutes.
Yeah, let's talk. This segment is called Mine's Minute. As we mentioned earlier, we have Elaine is our very own pod host. Has reopened her basketball career. She has joined the club team.
Took out of retirement like Tiffany Hayes.
Yes, came out of retirement in just like Tiffany Hayes. And so I asked Elaine to put together a Mine's Minute for us so that we can hear about her experiences now playing at the club level, and some of the highlights and how that's going for you. So let's start the Mine's Minute now.
All right, so we just hosted our own tournament this weekend. We had Denver University and the University of Colorado at Denver. They came to Mines. Denver University brought 2 teams, A and a B team, and we played all 3 teams. We went 3-0, won the tournament. We won each game by about 40 or more. So I think hands down best team in the Denver metro area. We'll get to play Colorado State soon, and they've played Wyoming before, so maybe not. I can't say for certain best team in Colorado yet, but definitely best team in Denver metro area. Okay. Oh, wrong one. Sorry. We gotta show the highlights.
So while you're getting that up, also be thinking about so what was it like? You haven't played in a competitive game for over a year, and you had the chance to get back out there in a uniform that wasn't intramural, it was actual game. So what was that like? Some of the emotions that you were feeling, or just how did it feel?
Yeah, it felt really good. I think, it was nice. It was nice to play so freely, no stress, no pressure, but a little bit more competitive than intramurals last season. And I've just recently joined the team, so I'm still getting to know my teammates and stuff, but really
transition. Yeah.
Really clicking with everybody, and it was just fun to get out there and play.
All right, so what do we have queued up here?
All right, I'll talk us through some highlights. So first one, we're going to start with a Caitlin Clark-esque assist. So a little pass from the hip to Allison. This one I'm getting out running in transition. Gonna finish through some contact and one.
Oh, and one.
This next one also in transition. Just watch.
Oh, I thought you were gonna pass. What?
Yep, we got this one in slow-mo.
She goes up, or she's dribbling in. How? Just thread the needle right through there. And some acrobatic.
Had to get a defensive highlight in there. This one, I tip the ball, and then I throw it off her foot. And then if you know me, I'm going to knock down a couple threes.
Beautiful. That was that felt familiar right there. Yeah. That felt very familiar. Wow. Well, thank you. That was so much fun, Elaine. I love the Minds Minute. I'm sure our viewers and if you are listening, I highly encourage you to get this on YouTube and take a look. That was a lot of fun. Thank you.
Yep, yep. So
Awesome.
great start to.
So I would say, who would you? I'm gonna go ahead and call the player of the game for, or the player of this tournament. Would that be?
Well, I mean, I was a little maybe a little biased in the clips in the highlights I chose to show.
Right.
There's a lot of, I think, a lot of really good players on our team, and everyone got a lot of minutes, and everyone played well.
That you are really good in a press conference. We try to give you the props, and then what do? You turn it back to your team. That's exactly the kind of player that you are, and that's how you're supposed to behave in a post-game interview. So perfect. Excellent. We can talk a little bit about 2025.
Yeah, we can talk about 2025. So obviously it's a ways away. But why not do a little sneak peek? So obviously the Valkyries, we mentioned this, have a new head coach, because obviously they're a brand new team. It's Natalie Nakasi, who's been an Aces assistant coach for the past 3 seasons, where she won 2 championships. She played collegiately at UCLA, and she coached in the NBA for the Los Angeles Clippers for a little bit. She played in the National Women's Basketball League, NYBL. It existed, I had never heard of this. It existed between 1997 and 2007 in the WNBA offseason, which was really interesting. And she was also a head coach in Germany for a while, so she has a lot of experience. And
Yeah.
if I was living in the Bay Area or just wanted to be a Valkyries fan, I'd be really excited about it.
Yeah, I'm excited about the Valkyries. I'm excited to see the league grow. If you had to pick another city, because they are talking about that they're picking new cities, where do you want another WNBA team?
You know where I want another WNBA team. Denver, Colorado.
And why not Denver? It could happen. That's a great location. Do you have a second choice?
Yeah, I think Des Moines.
Why do you say Des Moines?
I mean, I just think Iowa deserves it. Like, Iowa has always been a women's basketball state. We mentioned my grandma, your mom, who played basketball in the state of Iowa. Like, the girls' state basketball tournament has always been huge. I read a book this summer. It was called Inaugural Ballers, and it was about the first Olympic team. And they talked about how over the weekend of the girls' state basketball tournament, there was I don't remember what year. I think it was like the 40s or the 50s or something. They had 47,000 people in attendance for a high school state tournament.
Yes.
Iowa,
they'll show up. It'll be packed. They will not. They will not. Yes. Is this heaven or is this Iowa? I mean, yeah, I think that's exactly where the WNBA ought to be thinking. And I don't know if it's Des Moines or if it's the Quad Cities or whatever. I don't care. But Iowa does deserve that kind of spotlight. They've already shown at the college level, because we talk a lot about Iowa Hawkeyes, but
Iowa State sold out their
fan base.
They sold out their season tickets.
Yes, so there's a lot of good reasons to think about Iowa, and not just because we live near it. There's so much history. I was just talking this weekend with a former Lady Mav who played before me. Her name is Julie, and Julie was a 6-on-6 player, but she played defense. Didn't even play offense until like near the end of her senior year. And she's just an incredible athlete with great size, and ended up playing at UNO, then ended up playing professionally. So she'd be one of those players that played the 6-on-6 style in that kind of environment that you're talking about, and then was able to translate that to the professional level over in Switzerland. And so it was just a joy to talk to her about it. But it's that history of those stories. You know, my mom was Allstate in 1945. Are you kidding me? Or sorry, 49. I had to look at my wall. 1949. And so, and I'm sure your grandma played around that time, or I guess no, later, but still, I mean, we're talking 20th century here, where Iowa women's basketball was huge. So why wouldn't we reward them in the 21st?
This is our official pitch.
That's our official pitch.
Let us know. You guys should let us know where you want a team, and
yeah,
send us any other comments. Like we have the listener section. Anything you want us to talk about, let us know.
Yeah, we'll start a segment called Clap Back. Because some of the things that we hear generally, that's like, hey, that's a good point. And sometimes maybe it's not. So for example, one listener thought we didn't talk about Caitlin Clark enough in our first episode. Well, to that I say, this was about the WNBA Finals. Was the fever in the
wasn't
finals?
In that.
Yeah, I and so that to me is like what gets people upset. Is when, okay, let's talk about this one player here. She's not here, she's not in it. But I mean, yes, she's had an impact on the fan base, but not in New York and not in Minnesota. Those two places have had rabid fan bases for a long time. And so it wouldn't have been appropriate to talk a ton about Caitlin Clark in the finals. We'd just be like any other casual fan. So I love Caitlin Clark, but I think she'd even say, what are you guys talking about? This is a podcast. She just wants to play golf right now. So my first listener clap back is no, we did it right. We mentioned her, of course, because we're talking about the MVP team, but we're not going to spend an episode talking about Caitlin Clark when it's the finals. So that's our clap back.
But whenever we will talk about Caitlin Clark when we do have Ingrid on, because she will. That's what she'll come ready to talk about.
How did you know that was the listener?
Wild guess.
Wild guess. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, this has been so much fun. Like, subscribe, all that jazz.
Yeah, definitely. Apparently, subscribing to our YouTube channel is a really key thing to do. I don't know why, but just do it. And like and share, and you'll keep getting great content. You'll get great content whether you like or share or not. But please just do it.
Yeah. All right. We'll see you next time.
See ya.